the don't like one of my regrets is that I never really did try to make it in the theater, which was my first love, and I didn't do it because I really didn't believe in my skills enough, and people told me I should get a job where I could make a living. Um, and I feel like, did I not do it because I thought it would take away the energy of it, the what I liked about it if it was kind of a have to? So I'm thinking about looking at you, Anita, because also to the artistic side of me, like
Yes,
the
yes.
drawing and the painting, and I'm thinking, people have said, why don't you, sell something? And it's like, no, it would take, with the pressure to produce, feels like, so for her to look at the things that she enjoys and she loves and that fulfills her. And I wonder about, if you're lucky, I mean, I feel like I've been very fortunate to have stepped into training, which sort of marries some theater with it.
Yeah.
And I get to do fun flip charts sometimes. But I wonder about, so it's for you too, Anita, of that part that you're so drawn to the art, and yet that gets put on the back burner, even though it's a thing that brings joy.
Yeah. And I still do it. I'm getting downstairs set up, and Clint's like, well, why don't you go downstairs and just draw it? It's like, because it's not set up yet. And he goes, well, it's set up enough for you to do something.
Mm.
And then I said,
point.
I hate you, shut up.
Yeah, what is that?
I know.
What is that part though that says like, oh, it just has to be just perfect?
Yeah.
Is it like sitting down to write something? Because sometimes I'll think of myself as this brilliant writer, not. I mean, I've gotten stuff published, but it's not particularly very good. And thinking, why is it that I can imagine all that stuff in my head, but when it comes to actually sitting down, it's like, oh, that's not the right pen, and I need just the right paper. And, and by the time I get a few minutes into it, it's like, oh, forget it.
So do you think there's some procrastination tied into that?
Always.
Mm.
That's always.
Yeah. But what is the procrastination about? I think that's the part.
Fear of not being able to do it perfect. And fear, and that is self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Form of self-sabotage.
What if that image, I don't know if you deal with this, Anita, what if that image I have in my head can't come out through my arm? What if the words that I have, I create these fabulous stories, but I can't get them to come out through my keyboard? And so procrastination is great then of, wait, I don't have enough pillows behind me, or I don't have just the right brush, or it keeps me from
the right light bulb.
Yeah. And then it's because I'm afraid that I'm just not gonna, that muse or whatever it is, it just won't show up.
What's the worst that can happen if it doesn't?
I
mean,
I'll realize what I've thought of myself isn't actually what is possible.
We don't know if we don't try, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. So, yeah. What if we don't do it? What if we procrastinate some more?
Yeah. We'll never know.
One of the one of my favorite people, and I've shared her with you before, is Brene Brown and her book, The Gift of Imperfection. And I did a whole course with her, and we had to keep a journal, or it was an art journal. I should go get it and show it to you. I still have it. But she, excuse me, she required us to leave the first page blank. She said, the first page has to be blank. And then she tells you why later. She's like, because everybody is so afraid of messing up the first page.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I remember doing that, and even in the second page, feeling like, oh, I didn't do that right. I mean, I went and bought all these fun gouache. I don't know anything about art, but gouache paint or whatever, and all these brushes. Of course, I spent all the money and I got everything ready. And did I procrastinate a little bit? Yeah, but I did page 2, and I was like, well, it's still not like I wanted it to be. I mean, I did this probably 10, 15 years ago. But it was a great lesson going through that whole book with her and doing weekly things that required you to sort of be comfortable with being, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Hmm. Yeah. I guess I don't want to. There is a lot of fear there.
Yeah.
The fear that, and there's something about it, feels like my arm, that someplace between my head and that it won't make it down my arm. And some days I just know that this arm is not going to perform.
Use the
I
other
just
one.
know.
You got
Then
two.
for sure it won't work then.
We all need an Anita in our lives. Use the other one. Just use the other one. Use your foot.
When
Use your
I
foot.
when I had surgery on my right hand, I had to use the other one. And I want to tell you, I had a lot of paste and other things in places where it didn't belong. Just trying to use that. But it's like, I'm sitting here and of course we all have those little judgy voices in our heads, and I have to
Yeah.
tell it to shut up. And so I listen to you, Anita, and it's like, oh, for God's sakes, Anita, just go down there and start doing stuff. Don't have to worry about whether you have all of your things in just the right spot. Just do something. And then it's like, Peg, shut up. Have you done anything lately? Did I once again, like before my brother went into the hospital, he and I went to look for books that he might want to take to the hospital to read. Hasn't cracked one of them open. And there was this whole section in this fabulous bookstore of drawing books of all different textures of paper and different pens. And oh my God. And so did I load up again? Yes, I did. Have I
Yeah.
touched those things? No.
Well,
I,
yeah,
I mailed them home to myself.
so funny. All right, well, we're gonna check in on you with that one.
Oh my
You
God.
gotta use
Ugh.
that. You gotta use that stuff.
That's
Huh.
funny. Yeah, my son and his wife came down this past weekend, and I hate going into the craft stores. I hate it.
Oh,
But I did good. I did good. I only spent $2.99
wow.
on
Now,
something
okay,
I
what
don't
did you
need.
splurge on?
Big
Let me show
spender.
you. Let me show you.
This has got to be a big purchase.
It's right here. I got it. Hang on a minute.
It's what do you think it is, Julie?
In the
This
Now,
world,
is
do I need this? No.
yes.
what is it?
It's a little gnome that's dressed as a ladybug. See her little hairs, her little nose.
Is she a
What is,
pencil?
No, you can't have that. See?
what is her
It's just a little.
purpose?
What's her purpose?
Exactly. I did not need to spend this $2.99.
Did it make you happy? Well, it's making me happy, so it was worth it.
It was just cute. I thought, oh, look, it even got a ladybug on it.
All
Yeah.
right. Moving right
That's why I don't
along.
go into hobby stores.
Moving right
Okay.
along.
Okay.
Let's keep us
On track.
page 23. She shares after Ruth is getting ready to die and her daughter Heather. I don't know if you remember that or not. Heather didn't want to be there. Heather didn't want
Yeah.
to be there. She said, "Do you mind if I go home?" And Bronnie had to sit with that for a little bit and kind of figure that out. But what she came to was, they say that everything comes down to love or fear, every emotion, every action, and every thought. And then she began to recognize that Heather was acting out of fear. it had been through love that she left, not but she left out of fear. Um, is what is what is what Bronnie came to the conclusion that Heather was not able to be there. Um, do you remember that? Do you remember that?
Hmm. Do you think that's true though? That she
What
left out
about?
of fear?
I almost feel like perhaps she knew her mother didn't want her to be there,
Mhm.
and perhaps and what would that fear have been of?
When reading that section, I thought about being with both of my parents when they died, and my sister, that sister, um, would not,
Unsister.
yeah, um, she would not come to the hospital as my dad was dying. And I thought about like why, and the reason I asked that question, Julie, is because it's like the fear of not being able to contain all the love.
Well, and you know what? In looking at this a little deeper, I think you're exactly right. I misread here. So it is, she says, they say that everything comes down to love or fear, every emotion, every action, every thought.
Mm,
Um, and the recollection that she has is that Heather did it out of love. She came to realize she thought she did it out of fear, but she came to realize that she did it out of love, of
mm,
recognizing that
mm,
her mother's wishes had been shared with her at some point, that she did not want her to be there. So
mm-hmm.
what Ronnie thought was fear was actually done out of love.
Love.
So misjudging or misreading someone, um,
Hmm.
so what do you think about that statement? Everything comes down to love or fear.
I think so.
Yeah.
They might show up in different ways,
Yeah,
but um, I think it's sort of like you're heading towards or heading away, maybe.
yeah. And I personally feel like love trumps fear. Um, that we all have moments of fear and times of fear and seasons of fear.
Hmm.
We move, we're able to manage it when we are able to couple it with love received from others or self-love for ourselves, recognizing that it's okay to be afraid.
Hmm.
I don't want to stay here.
Hmm. I guess I'm sort of meshing together, having just gotten off of my Zoom call with the grief educators
Mm,
piece, and we were just talking about our responses to grief and witnessing grief and being with grief. And in many ways, it's almost like we could do the same telling here about love and fear,
yeah.
and not being able to. We were talking about that when you're feeling grief, you have to deal with the grief at some point. And what is grief except the loss of love, the loss of
Mm,
something that was
mm,
meaningful to you? So I think I can't help but there's a connection here for me
yeah.
between um, these, what we're looking at in terms of this book and what I'm getting from that other course. And so they're
Absolutely.
really connected.
Well, and there's a perfect, have you ever heard the expression perfect love casts out all fear?
Hmm.
Perfect love casts out all fear. And
Hmm.
where does that perfect love come from?
I don't know. I wouldn't recognize it, I think, if I
Yeah.
fell over it. You, Anita? No.
Still waiting,
Yeah. Yeah,
still looking for it.
That's one of those regrets. Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't, when we're thinking about love, what makes us sad about love is the potential of losing it or not ever having it, feeling like we don't have it.
Yeah.
And most of the time, fear is, yeah, there could be physical fear, but more than that, it's not being accepted, not being part of, not being loved.
Mm.
So, did my sister not show up for my father because she was, I think she was afraid that she couldn't handle the loss of that love because they were very, very, very close.
Mm.
And so it would be too much for her.
And
I
I
don't know
think,
what that says about my mother because she showed up for my mother, but
well, and one of the things you just said
It's-
too, Peg, really ties into this whole first regret of, I wish I'd had the courage to live true to myself, not the life others wanted me to, which is where some of that fear of acceptance you were just talking about is. We live for others sometimes because we want to be accepted by them. We make choices sometimes to please others as opposed to a choice that we actually want to make for ourselves. Now, in certain cases, that's an act of selfless love to do that. However, when it comes at the expense of our own contentment and our own pursuit of passion, then that is something we will eventually regret.
mm-hmm. Do you think, seems to me, women are very much, or they have been, I think some of the younger generations, there's a change happening, but women have been very much raised to you're acceptable when you do what you're told.
Oh, some of the, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember where I saw this not too long ago, but one of the like Good Housekeeping or something from back in the day, where it was like these was advice was given to women before your man gets home. Run a dust rag across the foyer, put on some lipstick, change your clothes, have a cocktail ready for him. I mean, and it was a real thing. I mean, it was like the
Yeah,
things that
yeah.
were sort of touted to do back then is make sure the children are bathed and well behaved before daddy gets home. I'm like, I'm gonna throw them at him. Say, your turn. Tag, you're it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Forget it, Jonathan. That's not your world.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think
Um,
that there is that part of not wanting to step out of line. Then we get the same thing when we go to school. Boys or girls, you better behave.
yeah.
You better be good. And yeah, we're pleasing people, and we don't. It not surprising. It takes a long time to figure out who we are or what we want, what's of value to us, and
Mhm.
sort of give it away to other people.
Yes.
Now I'm feeling sad. Um, I'm like, oh no, I've given everything away. There's nothing
Uh,
left of me. Uh, well, yeah, I think, I hope kids, I hope, especially young girls are getting a different kind of sense of the world, of what they can be.
I
Yeah,
think it's definitely happening.
Mhm.
Definitely, most definitely.
yeah. I think they're
Yeah.
more empowered now.
Hmm.
All right. Let's look at Stella for just a moment. I love Stella with her long white hair and her yoga teacher-esque, her sensibility and her biggest frustration was that she was ready to die and it wasn't happening. And I
Yeah.
loved Ronnie said to her, perhaps you're still here for me. Perhaps there are
Hmm.
still things that I need to learn through you. And I love because she said this more than once. Um, Stella says back to her, I can accept that.
Hmm.
I love the way she um, she used that phrase several different times throughout her time with Bronny. I can accept that. And perhaps that's a good question for us to ask ourselves sometimes, not as because we get into this piece here. There's also a point where she begins to talk about expectations. And so that acceptance, I think it's really to have high acceptance and low expectations of others, and not necessarily of yourself, but I think of others, unless it's been it sets you up for when you have your expectations are too high. It sets you up for resentment, for anger, for frustration. But when your expectations are lower and your acceptance is what you're focusing on, I can see her. I can, making that shift to say when something doesn't go quite the way you want, I can accept that.
Hmm.
Instead of, well, but I didn't want it to go that way. I expected it to be different. So low expectations, high acceptance. It's just something to chew on.
Hmm. I like the shades of gray feeling of that.
Mm.
That it doesn't have to be an argument of either this way or that way, my way or your way. That, oh, there's another possibility here
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of. And that, okay, I can go with that. It seems like not giving in as much as saying, oh, I didn't realize there was another possibility.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you're not between a rock and a hard place. You're maybe in a narrow passage, but the walls aren't squeezing in.
Mm.
I like that.
Yeah. And I think it takes us to that piece where she deals with all of her clients in some regard of that piece of learning how to let go, having acceptance, having the ability to surrender. I can accept that. I can surrender to that. I can let go to that. Because when you're coming to death, when we come to death, or when we come to the end of anything in particular, there is a point where we need to say, it's time to let go of that, right?
Mm-hmm. So here's the hard part then, it seems. Where are the places that we can choose to say, I can accept that? And where are those places where it's like, no, damn it, I really want to go downstairs and paint
Yeah.
and not keep giving it up? And that versus like, I can accept that, I'm not doing it and I haven't done it for years. And it could be a while longer. Where's that part that's like, nah, accept it's not going to happen here?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm drawing a Venn diagram.
Okay.
We're getting pictures.
Actually, I'm just gonna get it real quick. Hold on, y'all talk.
All right. Don't talk. Shh. What happened to your sister?
You know what? I don't know. I thought she texted me and said, am I getting excited that Bruce was coming in on Thursday? And that was it. And I said, well, I'm assuming he's staying until you get here. And then I just texted her like 7 times in a row. Where are you? 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 Where are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I'm going to get to meet you in person.
It'll be fun. When are you coming in?
On I'm not
I'm
there
the
for.
23rd. I think I'm the 23rd.
I'm coming on the 23rd.
It's exciting.
And then I'm leaving on the 26th. So we'll
I'm
have a
leaving
very
on, when the hell am I leaving? That Monday.
okay. We'll have a
But
short,
that was the only reason I'm doing that is because Lorraine's like, well, you need to stay and have breakfast with us.
because those Chicago breakfasts are famous. Not.
Well, yeah.
I wish I could come.
I wish you could too. That
But
would
my
be
sister-
You're
great.
going to be with
fun.
your sister, right?
Yeah, my sister's gonna be here from Texas.
Ah,
Yeah, so we're gonna
Jinx.
be up the North Carolina coast. Okay, so
Excellent. Okay, what'd you find?
I've used this diagram a lot when answering that question, Peg. So, when do you say, no, I can't accept that? So, the things that matter, the things I can control, the intersection is what I want to focus on. There's
I've
so
seen
much,
that somewhere.
I've shown it to you before, I think, because I
Is that
came
something I need to tack up on my bathroom mirror?
I came up with this when I was something that was really important to me that didn't matter, that I was not going to accept in regards to my daughter and something that happened at school. And I went to the principal with this diagram and I said, I created this as a visual aid for our conversation today. I said, I don't get in my children's business in high school very much at all, but today I am because I'm in the pink zone today. It's I can control it and it really matters to me.
Hmm. So that starts to beg the question. So does the artwork really matter?
Yes,
Hmm.
it matters. It
Hmm.
matters.
S-
It
Hmm.
matters a lot.
And that's a question only you can answer, Peg,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you all day long it matters, but you have to believe that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And to ask the question, perhaps, why does it matter?
And if it matters, why don't I get to it? Hmm. Contradictory mattering.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
put it on your calendar for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever. 15 minutes might not be worth getting everything out for, but for 30 minutes and treat it like you would a friend that you were going to be meeting for lunch. I'm not going to miss this date with my palette.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'll have to pencil it in like I do pickleball. Nobody interferes with my pickleball time. Nope.
I think
Joe
you
can't
need
go
to
see the emergency room now.
you need a
Oh,
new invention, painting with pickleball.
uh, I bet you
I'm
are
gonna
a
start.
fierce feline on the pickleball court.
Hmm.
Do you like to come to the kitchen? Do you like to come into the kitchen?
What?
Do you like to come into the kitchen? Up towards the kitchen?
I try not to, but when I'm trying to locate that ball, I'm in and out.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to be in it unless it hits. Then you
Oh, I
can step
know.
in it, but
Yeah.
then you have to step out. And then
I
yeah.
guess just coming up to the net. Do you like to come into the net?
Yes, and that's what we had to learn was
When you're
you
allowed
serve
to.
it, they
Yeah.
hit it back, it has to bounce, and
And
then you
then
move in.
yeah.
And so I try.
I'm glad you're
I'll
doing
see.
that. I'm glad you're doing that.
Me too. I'm glad when it was cold and windy today, but we play on Mondays, but it was just way too windy.
Oh, excuse me. All right, back to surrender for a moment because I really love to entertain the thought of so surrender. People thinking of white flag, surrender, I give up. I'm giving in to the enemy. I'm hanging up my towel. It is the dead opposite in a lot of cases. It is
Hmm.
a sign of strength and courage to surrender and to let go of something.
It does seem contradictory. It's like thinking about surrendering to that urge to be creative.
Hmm.
Feels like um, it's not like it beat me. It's that I'm going to allow for it instead of saying, no, I have a million other things that I have to get done. But darn, I'd really like to sit down at that drafting table and do something, a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
So
Something that'll bring
surrender.
us joy. I don't know if we'd know how to handle that.
I don't know either. It'd be like, oh, eating food that's too rich for you.
Yeah, it'd be like,
I'd
oh
have
my God, I'm just
indigestion.
enjoying this. How long is it gonna last?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So yeah, I like that idea of surrendering, but not being defeated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, to me, it's almost a freedom because it's a recognition that I don't need to worry about this because I can't control it anyway. My light's flickering back here. What's going on? I mean, we can look at it from a couple of different
Yeah.
viewpoints, but surrender is not giving up. It's recognizing that something, and so I don't want to confuse it with surrendering to give into your artwork because that's it. I mean, there's so there's because that can be considered, I mean, surrendering to your artwork. That's a good thing, right? Giving into it, surrendering to it. But their surrender has such a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
However, if you're holding on to something too tightly, what happens? You can't receive anything else. If I mean, you're so close-fisted, you don't have the opportunity to receive the abundance of gifts that happen when you let go or surrender to something. And it's like holding a double-edged sword. It's just making you bleed and bleed and bleed until you let go and go, oh, I can heal now. I can heal.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I guess, yeah, kind of giving into. I know that it's there, and I always find reasons to just get out of here. I have things to do. Um, I'm busy. But then there isn't that part that feels, it's half scary because I haven't visited there in a while, but it's also feels wonderful. Like anything could happen.
Yeah.
Anything could come out of those fingers. And it could be crappy or it could be spectacular. It could be, who knows?
Yeah. And
And
you
it
know,
seems like the longer I keep away from it, the harder it is
The harder
to,
it is to get back.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, but then once you're in it, then it's like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Mm-hmm. All right, Anita, you and I need to bring some art stuff with us to Chicago.
so
Yeah,
this makes me think about Bronnie and her photography and her musical career, taking us
yeah,
to Grace, who was her palliative care client that regretted not living a life true to herself. She had lived for her husband, and it made her angry. She was just emotionally um, so angry at having lived a life for her husband. And so what that caused Bronnie to do was reflect on her journey of learning to view life with compassion and acceptance. And I think it really helped her move towards some personal growth and healing. Because she had some pretty challenging things growing up too, and some um, expectations that were placed on her when she left the bank and went traveling, and you'll never make
Mm,
anything out of yourself. And so
yeah,
when um, she shares with Grace, um, this dying woman, some of her own passions that she hasn't been true to. And Grace, and that's when Grace encourages her, don't do what I did, live true to your own heart. And I think that helped Bonnie move towards peace and fulfillment in some of her musical career, because she learned so much from each person that she sat with, that she lived with towards life's end.
hmm.
I learned I don't want to get really old.
What does that number sound like?
Yeah.
I don't
What
know,
is,
but I don't, yeah.
hmm,
So any
yeah.
thought on Grace? She sort of opens the door to us to this first regret, beginning on page 44. She says, it took no time at all for Grace to become one of my favorite clients. She was a tiny woman with a huge heart. The dreams she had waited all of her life to live were never going to happen. It was too late. What a sad thing.
Mm.
So do you want to be in the position where you say that at the end of your life?
No. That's what a lot of people, that's what I do. Well, when this is done, then I'll enjoy. When that's done, then
Mhm.
I'll, when this is done, when Joe passes, when whatever. Well, I'm miserable now, not when Joe passes.
Hmm.
And she asks the same question that you did, Peg, a few minutes ago. Why didn't I just do what I wanted to do?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess, sometimes we do have to think of the consequences. And in that moment of, oh, I really, really, really want a golden retriever, um, there's got to be a moment that says, yeah, do you want that golden retriever in the middle of December when you have to take it out for a walk in New York City and you can't travel as much? So sometimes it's like, I regret never having that golden retriever. And yet, taking a look at it and saying, I think I'd regret more having gotten that golden retriever
There you
on
go.
those mornings. So
Yeah.
there's the immediacy of saying, I'm going to go for it right now. And then there's the part that the furthest end of that is, oh no, you have to keep yourself really constrained. I think someplace in between there is, uh, I don't know how I've settled into mm, the. I guess I've started to live a whatever life, Ah, um, and know that I lean a little bit more towards the whatever when there's times that it would be nice to do some of those other things like painting or actually lying down on the couch and reading a book or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do, especially when I'm up at 4:30 in the morning, is to take an opportunity to spend 30 minutes on Sofa, but it's to read a book that I a drama or not a self-help book or not a coaching book, but
Mm,
and to feel okay with that and just
hmm
say, I'm going to do it just because I want to.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah.
So perhaps becoming curious about that as you move into the next week or two is asking yourself, what is causing me or preventing me from doing that thing, which I say I really want to do, paint, play the piano, play pickleball. What's causing me or restraining me? Um, am I going to regret later that I didn't spend the time to spend 30 minutes a day painting? What's 30 minutes
Mm.
of 48 minutes? 30 minutes out of 48? No. What's okay, so I'm trying, there's 24 hours. You know what I'm trying to say?
24 hours in a day.
Yeah, so there's 48 half hours. So if you can give a half hour, what's 1/48 of never mind, never mind.
I regret that I didn't pay attention in math class. That's what I
I know.
regret.
Oh my gosh. I don't, because it wouldn't have made any difference for me anyway. There's not enough fingers and toes for me to succeed in math.
Yeah, isn't it amazing that we can sort of talk ourselves out of doing those things that seem like, wouldn't this I think I've become much nicer to myself though.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to go, I don't care, I'm lying down on this couch and taking a nap, or something like that. But I haven't dragged out any artistic things I try. What gets in your way there, Anita?
Things.
Could you name one of
Because I
those
know
things?
once I'm down there, that's all I'm going to want to do. I'm not going to do anything else. And some days it's like, I'll just do nothing but read a book. I'm not doing any, I'm just going to read my book. Well, instead of reading my book, I could be downstairs trying to figure out what I want to do. Because I have everything from paints to ink to magic markers to chalk to charcoal to
So
where
let
do
me
you
ask you
start?
this. In the art world, knowing that it might not be as easy to say, I'm just going to do 30 minutes today because it does require drawing out a lot, maybe sitting with it and thinking and pondering, that might not be as easy to do as to say, like, I'm going to go read a book for 30 minutes. What would be another way to approach it? Is it possible to devote an entire day or a 4-hour chunk to that so that you feel like, well, I know I'm not going to want to leave, so I'm not going to leave. I'm going to devote 4 hours. Is that a
Yeah.
possibility to put that on a calendar so that it does happen as opposed to it's just a wishful thought?
Where's my book?
Put it in there.
Joe, I'm erasing all your appointments.
I mean,
Yeah.
brainstorm ways to make it happen, because the only way it'll happen is if you have a plan.
Yeah. Well, I have a little art book and I've been meaning to take it with me, but then I get to Joe's and then it just sits there. And then I thought I'd do the Pomodoro. Okay, so I spend time with the Pomodoro and then I take 5 minutes. And then I do another thing with the Pomodoro for Joe's taxes. And then I take the break. And then it's like, oh, I want to pull out my book. While I'm pulling out my book, oh, I need to call these people. Pomodoro 15 minutes. Then it's a 20-minute break.
I still love my Pomodoro. I do them every day.
I do too. It's just that then because then I forget to re-hit the timer thing. And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, it's been 20 minutes. Well, I don't want to do that anymore.
It's a great tool for those of us who go down rabbit holes. Oh my God. Well,
But yeah, I do have it.
yeah. So
I'm picturing you too. I'm sorry.
no, go.
I'm picturing you too, Anita, taking a lovely bowl that you might have. Doesn't have to be the best bowl, but just something that calls to you kind of bowl or a teacup, and to take little strips of paper, and on each strip of paper write a different medium that you might use, and ball those little pieces of paper up and throw them in there. And then when you go downstairs, just pick one of them out. And it's like, okay, my little artistic fortune cookie just told me it's
I
charcoal
love
day.
that. An
I
art.
could do that. Yeah.
That's a great idea, Peg.
Yeah, and then see what happens.
I will. I'm going to write that down right here.
And that you might be able to do something in, a quick something in 30 minutes of just doing charcoal sketch. Something else, playing around with some shading, perhaps, and just get a feel of which one you feel like, oh yeah, I really want to do more of that, or well, that was fun, but I could just leave that alone for a while.
So when you get home, can you do the same thing, Peg? Would that work for you?
I don't work in quite as many mediums as my friend Anita does. I'm pretty.
I dabble in a bunch. I have mastered the pencil. Pencil
Oh,
is my favorite.
okay. All right. Well, I guess you know where you're going. Head to the pencils. Um, I'm more a acrylics
Okay.
and or I like to use pen.
Mm. What kind of pen?
So
Like
kind of
ink.
a marker pen, Prisma color pens. I
Oh,
like that.
okay.
So I'm not I wish I could master watercolor. That someday I'll try. That seems beyond my capacities. I get large blobs of water, and oils, darn, they take too long. So I'm acrylic, and
Yeah, I have acrylic paints. I think I have one set of oils, but I'm more acrylic.
hmm. So I like different kinds of things too. I'm with you. There's not one that's my absolute favorite. It'd be nice to try lots of new strategies and techniques and things, but at least just to go, like, this is the time I'm going to do. I mean, I could just wind up finding myself curling up pipe cleaners and having fun. I don't
Hey,
know what I'd
if
be
it's,
making, but
if it's making you happy,
mhm. Sometimes it's like those little brown bags that they give you when you go shopping sometimes that have nothing on them. Sometimes I'll just waste a whole lot of time, it seems like, by just taking my markers out, my colored markers, and just drawing designs on those paper bags that become my gift bags.
Yeah,
oh, I love that.
yeah, there you go.
That's an artistic expression that other people will enjoy when you give them a gift.
And it kills time in a
Yeah.
creative way, in a very
Yeah.
creative way.
So
Yeah.
as long as you, I wouldn't call that killing time. Because I think you're doing something. And just, it doesn't have to be something, I think we are so wrapped up into thinking the things that we do have to be monumental and have to have
Mm.
show that we are a person of worth because we just did this, or instead of holding up a little bag that said, this is still
Yeah.
this is a good
Mm.
thing. It brought me joy. It brought me
Mm.
happiness.
Aren't we
I
always still
remember
waiting?
Mr. Rogers. Do you remember
Yeah,
Mr. Rogers?
of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I catered a lunch for him.
You met
Yeah,
him?
I did get to meet him. I have a picture. And so
Whoa.
what we did is it was an educational lunch. He was talking about education, and we did bag lunches, and I hired all these kids, young kids, and I paid them differently. And I said, just color on them, draw apples, do whatever you want to. And then I had one person in particular draw Mr. Rogers' bag. And I have
Mm.
a picture handing Mr. Rogers his bag. It says Mr. Rogers' bag, and where he's got his arm around me. And that was one of the most
Mm.
beautiful. I don't think I had kids yet, so I was in my early 30s, late 20s, and I still recall that as just such a special time
Mm.
of
Mm.
of doing 300 bags. There were 300 people at that lunch. So it was a month or more long project where, I mean, and these bags were not,
Mm.
works of art. They weren't going to be sold, but they were of great
Mm.
worth and value. And I remember it like, I mean, it just brings fuzzies to me.
Mm.
So why
Mm.
do we think it has to be such a Mona Lisa to be a word?
I don't know. We all still waiting for our moms and dads to look at our artwork and go, "Oh, honey, that's fabulous," and stick it on the refrigerator. I don't know.
So
Kind
one
of
of the
thing.
questions I asked you all to, in the three questions I gave you yesterday, I don't know if you had time to think of them, and I think this is an easy enough question to think about, is generally speaking, are you someone who lives their life how you want to?
Hmm. Mostly.
Most days,
Yeah.
most days. But no, if I had my way, I'd be retired with lots of money and I can do what I want, when I want, and how often I want to.
Yeah. Arrange
That's
that
how
for me too.
that's in my perfect world.
Uh-huh.
But I have a home. I've got, my kids healthy. Haven't killed them or anything. It's a good thing.
Hmm. Not doing time.
Yeah.
No,
Something to
not
ask
doing time.
periodically. I think that's just a good check-in for us to have on occasion, is to ask, am I someone who's living how I really want to live? Is this how I want to live my day to day today? How am I going to show up today? And is it going to be a way that I'm going to be happy about?
It
Mm.
depends on where I'm going.
Well, to me, it's tied into also having purpose and having that sort of through theme in life, that if I'm living what I feel is my purpose, then I'm okay with
Yeah.
how things are going. Would I like to have that money? Yes. Would I like somebody to leave me everything they've got, all the money part, not the bad stuff? Yeah, that would be nice. I'd like
Yeah,
to have a house that I didn't have to care for. Yeah.
I'm trying. Oh, here's
Oh
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lorraine's here now that we're,
Where is she? Did she screw up the time?
yeah, I was
I'm pretty sure she did.
getting ready.
Uh-huh. Sure. And so let's start this out by saying, so in conclusion,
Yeah,
now that
so
we're
as we
now,
wrap things up now, oh, we've missed you.
where have you been?
What time? I thought it started. Am I only 15 minutes late?
Oh no,
No,
we've only got 15 minutes left.
Oh shit. Oh, because we went through daylight savings. Ah, damn it.
We
Oh,
texted you. We texted you. Oh,
I texted you like 10 times.
Oh, geez. Oh, bummer.
well, I have recorded it for you, Lorraine.
Oh, thanks.
hi,
Oh,
Lorene.
hi.
Oh, bummer. Well, I mean, we kept saying, "Where's Lorraine? I hope she's okay."
Oh
Okay, Lorraine,
no.
you can
Oh,
talk.
bummer.
You can talk now.
Okay. Ask her all those hard questions you asked us, Julie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we've had
Julie.
some hard questions. So we'll just nail it to you.
Oh boy, I don't know
Dive
if I'm
right
in
in.
any condition to be nailed anywhere.
I'm teasing. So what we've done.
Well, one thing is nice to see is you're looking so much better than you did the last time, Julie.
Oh my gosh, yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, did you say something, Anita?
No, so the question Julie put out there was, generally speaking, are you someone who lives their life how they want to?
That was what we were
Uh,
sort of reflecting on right now.
yeah, I suppose I do. I've got no complaints.
Yeah.
Want some of mine?
No thanks. But
Lorraine, for your benefit, let me just sort of do a really broad brushstroke of where we've been and what I was where I was going to move us to in this last spell of time. So we began by looking at just sort of the opening 44 pages where she hadn't really gotten into the first regret yet, but we looked at a couple of the people that she had worked with, Agnes and Ruth and Stella. Stella, the yogi. And we looked at some of the learnings that she got from those three.
Come with questions, so we have answers, like how to keep your yard.
Sorry, somebody
Oh,
just dialed in. That was me. That was
that's
just me.
okay.
Pardon me. Sorry. I didn't
And
turn
some
my
of the
volume
things
off.
we talked about surrender. And I'm trying to, well, we looked at, one of the things we looked at with Stella was her frustration with not, she was ready for her life to come to an end, but it wasn't happening. And that Bronnie had said to her, perhaps you are here for me. And that Stella had looked at her and said, I can accept that. So and what a beautiful way of looking at that was. And we talked about expectations and acceptance and having a higher level of acceptance than we do of expectations. We talked about fear, some of the fears that they were encountering as they came to the end of the light, the regrets, some of the anger, and then the deep learning that Ronnie had from each one of them. We were looking at Grace and how but Grace had such a pretty intense anger at that she had not lived for herself, but she had lived for her husband, and that she still carried some anger to that place, to her deathbed. And so sharing all that allowed Bronnie to share with Grace how some of the hurt and pain she had been through in her childhood that had prevented her from living from a true place, from living from the heart. And then that ultimately, some of those conversations led Bronnie to a peace and fulfillment that really pushed her towards her musical career. So it was really, it's been really powerful in reading this to see not only the learnings that Bronnie had that she's sharing with us in her book, but how she applied those learnings to her life.
Mm.
And so we were just getting ready to look at Anthony because we talked about how at one point Ruth was sitting, or Bronnie was sitting on a riverbank, and she had a piece of paper in front of her, and she made a list of the things that I'm good at and the things I love to do, and then trying to work out where could they come together. How can she, what can I do well, but also enjoy? So we talked about that and personalized that some. And then we looked at the thought or the belief that everything comes down to either love or fear. So we talked about that a good bit. And is there our belief in that, is there a belief that we have in that? Is that a truth that every emotion, action, and thought is either comes from a place of love or fear? And then we were I feel like a fire hose, but I did want to give you some of just sort of where we have
Yeah, no,
been.
thank you for that. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, so I did read up to page 44, but I haven't, I don't think I know the Anthony story, so that must be in page 45.
Oh, yes. So that's when we get into so up to page 44 is
It's kind of her background, isn't
her
it, on how she
backstory.
kind of,
Yeah, her time in Australia, in the island, and leaving the banking world, and the struggles that she had to try to find herself. And then those three characters that we just mentioned. And then when we get to page 45 is when we start actually looking at the first regret. So, and Grace is the one who, did you read about Grace?
Ruth, I think, was the last one that I read. Which one is the yogi?
That was
Yogi one?
Stella. That was
Oh,
Stella.
yes, that was Stella.
Who
Yeah,
said, I
maybe.
can accept that.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think that was the last.
okay, so 44 through page 86 is all regret one, which we can spend more time with in our next time together. But that covers our time with Grace, Anthony, and Florence.
Okay.
And where, Anita, you've read to what page?
The regret too.
You read through it or up to it?
I read up to it,
Okay.
up to the second one.
Okay. And how about you, Peg?
I think I've gone as far as Lorene has gone.
Okay. So you weren't familiar with Grace either when I started talking about her.
I don't believe I did.
Yeah. So that might be a good place to start because Grace, in particular Anthony, because what's happening with her now in these next two palliative care patients is that she is they're very, very different. The next three are all very different and bring different teachings to her. Anthony is 30, so they're not all dying because they're old. Some of the people she cares for are dying because they have had an accident or a disease. So there's a tremendous amount of learning in the next three characters. So I think we'll pause instead of diving into them. So is it possible to read through 88? Or through regret one, which takes us to page 86. Yeah. So regret two starts on page 87.
Okay.
And Lorene, I was sharing with them, if you will go into practice better, I have created a program there called the 5 Regrets of the Dying, where I've got all the questions. I've uploaded some videos. I sent you all a link to it, but I don't know if anybody's opened it yet or not. but it's, there are like 3 videos I put in there. One is an interview with Bronny. One of them's 15 minutes long, one of them's 45 minutes long. They're really, really good, just to put on when you're taking a walk or something. They're YouTube videos. So there's some resources there and some questions, and I will try to remind you all to look there. It's just the easiest place for me to put it where we can collectively, so that I don't have to, we can all collectively look at it, and you can make comments there that we can all see.
Okay, lovely. Thank
Okay.
you.
So Lorraine,
Yeah, I just got my time. Sorry about that. I just got my times all messed up because
I'm
yeah, we
so
just went through
sad.
daylight savings on Sunday. So we went back an hour. So I had it in my phone that it was at 11 o'clock. And with it started at 10. It's like
I hate that. Because that's what I had to keep asking Julie. Well, is it, if we're moving the time, is it still 4 o'clock my time? Or is that 4 o'clock your time, which would make it 2 o'clock my time or 2? I don't know. It messes with you. Hey, did
Well,
anybody see
I'll
the
send you the recording, Lorraine. I did record it. I started
okay,
recording
thank you.
when it became apparent you might not be here. You missed part of the I didn't record the very, very first part, but I got enough of it for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You want to give
Well,
us just a little update on how you're doing, since we haven't had a chance to hear your
Oh, I
story?
just wanted to ask Peg how your brother is. Is he out of the hospital now?
he went to rehab today.
Oh, that's a big milestone.
Yeah.
That's a huge milestone.
So I don't know what comes next, but we'll see. So
Yeah.
thank you though. Thank you.
Oh, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed
Yeah.
everything kind of starts to fall into place now.
Hopefully. He's been, I was saying when we began, he's been very entertaining.
Tell about the
Uh,
hippopotamus.
Yeah,
The
he wanted to start a charitable organization to save the flying hippopotamus in Iceland. Like, okay. I don't think I'm familiar with them, but I'd certainly contribute. So,
well, they're
Oh,
probably
gosh.
there.
Oh no, that's funny.
oh man. Oh my gosh. Anyway, thanks. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go though. So,
Yeah, yeah. Again, apologies for missing everyone. So yeah, next time.
good to see you.
Well, I will.
Okay, so we're
lovely to see you too.
doing 2 weeks then?
When we're in Chicago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll all be in the same place.
Do you
Mhm.
want
so
to do then?
so sad that
I'll
you
be-
guys.
Do y'all want to do them while you're in Chicago, or do you want to wait? Or
Yeah, no, that would be great. But yeah, it's just a shame that you can't join us.
I know I'll
Really.
be at the coast with my sister. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Uh,
good.
well, I guess the
Well,
question is, do you want to do it? I mean, if you're going to
yeah.
be with her up the
yeah,
coast.
yeah,
Okay.
because I'll be there. I'll be there a week. So is that today's the 9th?
So that's the 23rd.
Yeah, so it'll be the
We're
20th.
we're flying in the 23rd. So
Mhm.
should we change the
Uh,
day?
I get
24th?
there at 11. What time do you get there?
Oh,
Uh,
let me just take a quick look.
These dumbfounded looks.
Yeah. Uh, mm.
3?
Mm.
Ow.
So let me pose this question. Given that you're going to be at the beach with your sister, given that I'm going to be in Chicago with the sisters, is it possible for us to do next week instead and skip the Chicago week?
I can do next week.
Do
Julie,
that. Yeah.
Maureen,
Yeah, I can do next week, I think. Yeah.
It's
all
the
right.
16th.
Yeah,
Does that work?
that way then everybody, you don't have to interrupt your time with your sister
Okay.
and I don't have to, I won't be hanging around with these two sisters.
Okay, so what, will that give you all enough time to read through the end of regret
Yeah,
one?
it's fast reading.
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. It's
Yeah, it
very
is.
it's very easy. It's very easy to read.
Excellent.
All right.
Perfect.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right.
right.
Well, have a good evening. And Lorraine, you have a good day, and see you all next week.
All right.
Okay,
Safe
perfect.
travels, everybody.
Yes.
Sounds like a
thank you.
plan.
Time, wherever, whatever you're doing. Okay.
Yes. And
All right,
don't
Okay.
guys.
do the thing
Don't-
that you go ahead. I want to see y'all are going to put some stuff out on the send us some pictures of some of the how you're going to spend your time. You're going to do a 4-hour block, Anita, or are you going to just be
I'm writing it in my book.
We want a
Come up with-
masterpiece.
come up with a plan that will allow it to actually happen.
Well, I don't think I'm doing anything this weekend.
Put it on your
Oh.
calendar and then pretend like it's a friend you're meeting for coffee and show up.
Okay.
All
Got
right.
it.
Bye,
See you
guys.
next week. Bye.
All right, love you
Bye,
guys.
everyone. Bye. Love
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye, Lorraine.
Bye.